Happy hunting season, you guys. 2024 is here. I know it's just a couple of weeks until a lot of the states out west are opening up for elk, and then there are some places here in the south that are gonna be opening up mid-September. Our archery season for deer doesn't open until October 1st, so I got a little ways to go, but that's good because I got baby number 2 on the way. My wife should be delivering sometime in the next week or two. So I'm gonna be missing out on this elk season. So depending on you guys to tell me how you did. But this video we filmed last year on our way out. And so this is just our experience, our advice, the hard lessons that we learned during our first 3 years of elk hunting. Hopefully you can either laugh at us or you can learn from us. So thanks for watching. Peace. All right, guys, we're on the road to go hunt elk. This is the 4th season that we've done this together. Total, like we haven't done it apart from each other, except for like you a week ago.
We skipped, we skipped 1 year between.
Yep, skipped last year. But we're driving, have a lot of time, and just figured we'd talk through what we've done over the course of the 4 years. Like, what are the things that we went in thinking year one that we were just totally wrong on? What was our perspective? Who were we listening to? What information was good? What are our failures? What are our learning curves that we had? So just having a conversation on those kinds of things for any of you guys who are thinking about doing it, or maybe you just want to hear, like, were you the only one who sucked whenever you first started elk hunting? I'm gonna tell you, nope, because we were terrible. So year one, 2019 is the year we went. And there were 4 of us that went. Me, you, Michael, and Steven.
Yep.
Yeah. Steven almost died that year.
Yeah.
So,
you can sum up year one as a hike fest. Yeah.
That's true. I think when we came back from year one, we did 70 miles in 6 days. We hunted
brings back nightmares.
We hunted 3 different units. And by hunted, we hiked 3 different units.
Clear across them.
Oh my gosh. So starting off, like, we decided we're gonna start doing this instead of paying for a guide once every 3 to 5 years. If we just learn to do the OTC or the public land, whatever, like we're doing preference points
and
in,
become
in
efficient
other states.
at it.
Yeah, then we can do this every year for the rest of our lives for pretty cheap. So year one, what do you remember from getting ready for that hunt?
I mean, getting ready would have been like coming back home before we ever began. And I remember our buddy Steven helped a lot, just like with gear preparation and things I would have never thought about.
The reason I wear Cryptek and have so much Cryptek is because he gave me like 2 full sets of Cryptek. I just stayed with it ever since.
My mindset was, I'm a whitetail hunter and I've got stuff, so I'm just gonna make it work and use it. And to some degree that's great, that's fine. But like, I think the biggest thing was boots for me was awesome. That was probably the most game changer. If I would have showed up in what I hunted in Louisiana, some little rubber muck boots or something, not so well. So boots were a game changer. I listened to quite a bit of Elk 101, the Elk Hunting University, and I think that was a huge prep for, as far as like having never gone there. One of the funniest things that I remember is when we first got there to the unit that we were on, I didn't even know the difference between, I live on a farm, but I didn't know the difference between cow poop, like moo cow poop, and elk poop. And so like we got down in there, and the first thing we did, we started seeing these trails, and you could like smell the elk.
And this was far west, almost into Nevada, right?
Yeah.
Or are we close to Utah over there?
Whatever.
Whichever one over there. Like, he was in unit 30, unit 30? 29?
No.
It was west of Rifle.
22, 21.
Okay.
21, 22. That's where we were at.
Okay. Yeah. He and Michael started off further west than Steven and I. Yeah. I think we went to unit 30 on the Rowan Plateau. It's where we started off.
Yeah. Like, so we split that first start. Y'all started one area. We started kind of getting more boots on the ground and scout.
Yeah.
We found moo cows. That's for sure.
We saw a cow elk on the
one night that we were in that unit. But what happened for us was that time we ended up with I think it was 60-mile-an-hour winds was forecasted for the next 4 days. And we're trying to archery elk hunt.
You couldn't even hear yourself talk. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. So, year one, we did some of the gnarliest hiking. Got way up into places, but we were just kind of talking before we cut this on. I think for us, we were so naive to the elk hunting world and how things go on a lot of vast tracts of public land that we didn't know what was hunting land and what was hiking land. So we spent 3 days in a hiking territory, walking up and down hikers trails that go 13 miles back. We're killing it, and we're climbing a bunch of stuff, and we're bugling, and here comes a hippie with a beanie walking by us. We had no idea what to actually do.
Or that woman that ran down hill just to grab the beer.
Yeah.
She runs past us in her little hiking shoes.
So year one was not a failure because we learned so much of what not to do. I think we practiced calling very well.
You told me I sound like a dying bird that year, so
I did.
I practiced, but I did not succeed that year.
Year two DJ was so improved on calling. And we'll get to that here in just a second, but year one was just rough. Steven ended up getting, he had his wisdom teeth removed 2 weeks before we went. He ended up getting an infection in his mouth, drove himself back. We didn't realize how bad it was. He almost died coming back. So we didn't know it was that bad. He also hurt himself, which was my fault. I was pushing too hard, hiking instead of hunting. And so, year one, rough. And so after that one, the group shifted for year two, which is 2020.
Well,
COVID year.
At the end of year one, last 2 days, you found a spot in a undisclosed unit that we actually got on elk. I shot a bull that to this day I think I killed, but we didn't recover him. Anyways, so we found a pretty sweet area, which is actually where we're going today to start. But all right, now year two.
So year two, we go back up there, and we're going back to the same unit that we ended with.
We're 5 guys deep.
5, 4 with tags. And actually, I drove up separately later. They were able to go up and go a couple days beforehand, which was different. So how did
so
that
as
play
we
in?
arrived to the trailhead, we got there 2 days before opening day, which was right before Labor Day weekend too. It was kind of calm for the first day and a half. We got up there, we scouted. As we were pulling in the trailhead, we saw a couple elk at the trailhead, and then later on in the day, we went up a road and could smell elk. This is a great sign there. Labor Day weekend hit, our opening day as well, and the whole trailhead filled up. There were people everywhere. We did see some. My buddy Michael saw an elk. Saw 2 actually really nice bulls. Had an opportunity first morning and later on in the week, in the evening, and I got on a couple elk there. The day before Justin got there, I got on a herd of elk. Had an encounter with a cow. Had an encounter with a spike and a little 3-point. The cow was the only legal one, but she didn't give me a shot. So, it was finally we were on elk, and we're kind of learning a little bit more. At least I know what poop looks like now. I know what they smell like. But I think we were still bringing a lot of Louisiana mentality into the hunting, for sure. Just trying to,
In 2020, that's COVID year. By the time September rolled around, everyone was wanting to get outside and do something. And so there were UTVs all over the trail systems up there where we're hunting at. And I mean, there's campers everywhere. The trailhead was full. The year before, we were the last week of season whenever we got to that spot, and I think there was one other truck at the trailhead. Whenever I got there on the Friday morning of Labor Day weekend 2020, I could not find a parking spot and there were probably 20 at the trailhead and then lined down the little side road. But that trip got cut short in that unit because of a huge snowstorm that came in. Earliest snow. Some of you guys, if you were hunting elk at that time, you'll probably remember it was the earliest and the heaviest snow that Colorado has had, I think, on record.
Yeah, I think it was like September 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we were looking all over the maps, hunting over-the-counter units, and we found one unit that there was forecasted not to hit with a snowstorm for, I don't know, an extra 2 days. So we bounced down, clear across the state, and we pull up to a trailhead at 1 a.m. We drove through the night. We slept in the trucks, which we have also learned is a horrible decision. Go ahead and get your tent out and do not sleep in your truck, because the truck is awful to try and sleep in.
If you've got it so packed that you can't lay back.
Yeah.
I slept in my car last week and it was phenomenal.
Okay.
But I had a pallet built in.
Gotcha.
Like my back seats laid down. It was like a bed. It was perfect.
So not my truck. So we all get a late start. We leave the trailhead at 8 o'clock. We go 5.5 miles back up a trail system, heading back into a basin, way back in. I think we're looking at 7 or 8 miles. And we got to a point where we realized we could either lose 400 feet of elevation and have a longer trip around but stay on a trail, or we could bust brush, keep elevation, and cut off a half a mile. And so we decided to just cut off this ridge, and as the Lord's sovereignty would ordain, we're walking a quarter mile off the trail. And all of a sudden, DJ smells elk. I smell elk. We look down, and there's a branch antler bull and a cow. Hey, we just got welcome to New Mexico. Our buddy Derek, who did not have a tag, he's running a camera, and he starts filming what he says. Dude, I saw this gray elk, which was a massive mule deer. So we still give him a hard time about the gray elk. The elusive gray elk. If you ever shoot a gray elk, please send that to us. But we look down, and he's like 140 yards, and DJ's calling comes back into play right here. I'm up as shooter, and I start making it down a pretty steep incline. He falls off the back side of the ridge, and this bull is not vocal at all. We lucked into this. This was no skill. We decided to take a shortcut. And just kind of look as we go, and it worked out. So ends up pulling this bull out of curiosity, and about 45 yards, I let an arrow fly, and I kill a 4x3. And this is on Labor Day, so we had hiked all that way up and shot the bull, quartered him up, went right back down the mountain. But we left our camp up in the mountain because we were like, hey, we're coming back tomorrow. Yeah. So we stayed at a hotel, and then woke up and did the same thing. By the time we got up there at midday, the snowstorm started coming in. In the matter of an hour and a half or 2 hours, trees are like snapping limbs on the way to snow, and we have to bail off. End of the hunt.
We get back to our camp, and there's 3 out of 5 of our tents are collapsed.
Yeah.
My tent was standing. Was your tent was standing?
Mine was standing.
Yeah, we had the best tents.
Yeah.
The other guys, not so.
Yeah.
I remember Christopher's feet were soaking wet.
Yeah.
So we had to.
So that one we looked into success at a different spot, but I wasn't able to fully appreciate what they had accomplished in the unit that they started, because they were finding elk and they were on it. We just got pushed out by weather. So that one was kind of bittersweet. And on the way home, there were these birds that kept flying into the road. We must have hit 40 birds with our car, with the truck, like just bouncing them off the windshield. It was awesome. So
They were committing suicide.
Yeah. So end of 2020, and then 2021.
Let me ask you before you go there.
Yeah.
What was there any difference in preparation for you for going into that year before you killed the elk? I know there was for me.
So, 2019, my biggest influence going in was Born and Raised. And so they're find the one elk that will play the game with you. And I was gung ho about it. Like, let's just bugle our heads off and go. And I think it has a place. In 2020, I had listened a little bit more to Paul Mendel. Is it Mendel? Elk Nut?
Paul Mendel.
Listen a little bit more to him, and he plays a more patient game. A little bit more calculated and specific. And so I went in with that kind of mind frame, but I don't think it's fair to say that I really had any tactic, because I'm just trying to figure out something that worked. I couldn't be sold on anything. I was willing to try everything to get an elk. And my hunting days, I mean, I got there on the 4th and we were gone on the 8th. So I had killed a bull on the 7th. So it was I didn't really get a whole lot out of 2020 personally.
Yeah. So here's what I learned. 2 things. One, about Paul Mendel. He with Elk Nut, he's kind of deceptive, and he said kind of slow. Well, he's really not. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he was talking about how he's like, guys, I put on my miles. I went through a pair of boots like this whole year. He started about he walked like 200 miles with him and his son through the elk season. But what he does different is he slows down. When he knows there's an elk there, he then uses tactics and sequences to call those elk that he knows are there. But he is bugling all the time and calling. Yeah. He was my main person I listened to going into that season. I had zero confidence that first year. I could barely even I remember one time you told me to make a cow call and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get the call to work. And so anyways, I
remember that.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah. And so I'd really focused on calling, and even downloaded his app. I would play back stuff. I've tried using a turkey call, mouth call all the time. Never could get it, but I was so set that I was going to do this. I put in hours to get this calling right. Right before we left the first unit, before the snowstorm came in, I actually had fooled Justin, made him think I was a bull. And I was what, 15, 30 yards behind you? You snapped your head, turned your bow towards me. You remember that? Yeah. Anyways, then it was just the next day or two that I was able to call on that ridge. But I just did an early season advertising sequence that Paul Mendel talked about. You got a bull, you see him, you know him. That time of year, the bulls are really curious. They're not quite aggressive. Yeah. So I did that. Now, right now, that would have been last week. For us, we're going on the second half. It should be right full rut. So probably different tactics coming into this hunt. But go ahead.
So 2021, that was a rough one. So we went from having 4 of us the first trip, 5 of us the second trip. 2021, it was just the 2 of us. So we go in and we actually start at the unit where I killed the bull.
Slightly different trail head.
Yeah. Within 30 minutes, we jump a cow elk, and we think, boy, we are about to just schlock the crap out of them. Yeah. Quick, easy hunt, and it was absolutely brutal. That was the only elk that we saw the entire trip. And what 2021...
Not the entire trip.
You see another one?
Birthday bull.
Oh, I didn't see him. You saw him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I saw him.
Yeah, true. So for that one, we went into one
There
unit.
was, with that cow, there was a bull with them, but we never saw, but he bugled and went downhill. We just never saw him. And like idiots, we didn't go after them. That's something I learned last week is... I wasn't I'd get on elk and they'd go this way and then I'd go the other way. Yeah. So I felt dumb last week. Yeah. So we'll change that this week. Go ahead.
So on that one, here's my failure in 2021. And this is where picking your elk hunting partner is very important. We have a strong friendship. which can oversee offense, rooted in Christ. There's forgiveness and grace. But DJ was so much better prepared mentally than I was. Not for necessarily the suck of the mountain, but for being away from family. My wife was pregnant, and just in my mind, I just wanted to be home with her. And that was exacerbated by the fact that on day 2 of our hunt, I went through legitimate physical exhaustion, like couldn't hardly put my tent up, put my head down, fell asleep, didn't wake up for 12 hours, and my body never recovered.
I got you water for that, though.
Again, we forgive and we give grace.
Great friendships.
I don't know
here.
if you have ever drank bull urine. We camped that night literally beside a flowing stream, and DJ, being the good friend that he is, knew I did not have the energy to get myself water. So he got me water from a bull wallow that was close to the tent, and then he got his own water from the stream. And so I woke up and I just got to taste, if you have smelled a bull wallow, imagine that you just drank straight from an elk's penis. And that's what my water tasted like. It was awful.
I don't want to imagine that.
I don't want to either, but I have to, because that flavor is ingrained in my mind. Oh man, it was horrible. So that set me back physically and mentally.
Which part? The urine?
All of it. It's just, that ruined me right there. Which this year I've been listening to Cliff Gray a lot, and he has one particular video I'd encourage you to go listen to. It's the top 5 reasons that elk hunters give up. And that year I fit like 4 out of 5 easy. And he talks about the physical side and just like the hormonal side of, if you face exhaustion, what does that do to your body? And I just never recovered. And we kept pushing hard. And we're climbing, we're pushing, we're going. We travel to another unit because we're not on the elk, and then that's where we get on the birthday bull. So for me, for 21, from that point on, I'm mentally spent. I just can't do it. I'm quick to give up. I don't have that drive that DJ does, but we do still get in the game in another unit. Our unit that we like to hunt. If you notice a cut right there, it's because I said something that might give it away. And it's not our place to hunt, but also don't want to I don't think it's going to get.
Well, I also ran into great guys this past month that hunt there, and so respecting other guys. Like there's Onyx, there's all the Go Hunt. Like there's all these mapping softwares. You can find places.
Right.
Right. So. And then you can find it easy if we just say something that gives it away. So
yeah. But anyway, so we went to another unit, and we hiked back in, and we do get on some elk. So you want to talk about your?
Yeah, no. So we had actually hiked in this area. It was a wilderness area that we hiked into, and the elk density was supposed to be a lot better in this area, as far as like per square mile. We looked up a chart and all that. So we hike in here, and we're not seeing nothing. We found some fresh cow poop. We found moose, and we've searched everywhere in this little. We've walked this creek all the way up to where it kind of comes into this end, like a little basin point, and we've hiked everything except that. Right above us is this hellacious steep climb, and we decided, look, we're going to camp in the morning. We're going to pack out and go try a different area. Well, the morning when I woke up, it was my birthday, and I was going back to Born and Raised's video where, was it Trevor had birthday bull, and he's like,
birthday bull in Montana.
I know you guys don't want to go down there, but we're going. And so I woke Justin up, listened to some music, and just like, hey man, I love you, but we're gonna climb up this hellacious climb. So we did. As soon as we got up to the top, we started finding some fresh elk sign, found a wallow. We thought we'd heard a bugle. Didn't quite respond, just kind of marked where we thought we heard it. We walked a little bit further towards that direction, got into an area where it was very evident they were bedding up on this ridge, just tore up there. And Justin's like, "Hey man, you want me to let out a bugle?" And I was like, "Yeah." He bugles, and just immediately this bull fires off straight downhill
200
from
yards
us.
away.
Yeah. And so he doesn't hesitate. He's like, "DJ, go." He almost shoves me. He's like, "Go." And we don't communicate well. This is our fault. We don't communicate well. We don't stay inside of each other.
Curve right here.
He pushes me off, and I go down, and I go straight like whitetail stalk mode. Everything's working well. I'm checking wind. Wind is coming hard across my face this way. Elk is out in front of me. I drop over the ridge going down, and there's this meadowy drainage below me, and the elk is in the timber just to the left, and I can hear that he's raking. And so I jump off in the timber, get out of the meadowy open area, and start working down, and I'm 45 yards from him, and he is behind a lot of brush. I can't see him. He's in a thick little patch, just raking like crazy. Justin's still up the ridge bugling, and then it probably was 10 minutes or so just pass of him just raking, and I'm just there, and he's not moving.
And he's interacting with me the whole time.
Yeah.
And like I'm bugling, I'm challenging, lip balling at him, chuckling, and we're just going at each other.
Yeah, so this bull would occasionally turn his head and bugle the opposite direction, which I assume made him sound like he was going further away downhill.
It sure did.
So Justin comes over the hill behind me, and he's in that little meadowy area. And so I'm like, I see him, and several pronghorns, and I'm like waving, like I'm in line of view of this bull if he looks up, but he's raking, he's not worrying. I'm like waving my arm at Justin, trying to get his attention. He finally sees me and stops, and I'm like, "Hey, eyes on the bull." He's like, "Right here," and I said, "Go back and rake. Go back and rake." You go ahead.
I don't know if I got the message. And I can't even remember. Did I start raking in the meadow?
You stopped at a tree, found a branch, and raked right there.
Okay.
Right there. So you couldn't see the elk. I'm almost sure that when he came up, he could see you. Just because he was looking for the noise he was listening to. Yeah. And if there was movement,
I moved too close.
It didn't take much when you're raking for those, unless you had there wasn't concealment. If you were behind like a big juniper bush or something, it may have turned out different. But you were raking like an aspen tree or something, that was like, it was wide open there. And so he came to the raking for sure, but he had one step left to take when he come. He was at just around like 30 yards. He had to walk behind a tree, and I was going to come in full draw, and he stopped just before the tree, and was like, he was looking hard the whole way towards Justin. He stopped, planted that front foot, whirled out of my life, and just took off. We got on one more bugling bull about an hour later, and that was the end of that trip. Well, we went to a different area, but we didn't get on. We didn't get anything there.
Yeah, we went there, and again, I was mentally spent to the point that we hiked up 2 miles into an area, got to a meadow, decided we were going to set up a camp there, and then go hunt. And I said, "DJ, I'm killing your trip right now. Like, you want to go, and I'm holding you back. I'm gonna sit right here, and you go as hard as you want to go. And whenever you're done, I'll be right here. At the end of the night, I'll be right here." And so DJ came back that evening and said, "I think I'm ready to go home."
I was drained.
Yeah,
I killed it.
Yeah. So we both let each other down that year.
I had a hike mentality still on that hunt, where it's different going into this one today.
Yeah. So from the first 3 seasons, what we learned was how to establish what is a hiker area, what is a hunting area. And I know that seems really basic, but where we're from, there aren't hikers. We do not have them there. If it's public land, it's hunters, because nobody wants to.
There's some hiking trails on like the state parks and stuff, but even people that hike that are rare.
Yeah,
and dumb because it's so hot.
Yeah, hiking in Louisiana is awful. So like we aren't used to that. So we learned that. We had done a better job of maps. I remember one of the things from the first year was that terrain on a map for the mountains is a lot tougher than what it looks like on little circles. We climbed some crap that year. Could have died 17 times.
I think it gets me every year. Even going in earlier this past month, a mile is a long ways. So you hear guys talking like, yeah, we went 10 miles deep in, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to go 3 miles last week, and the terrain just would not let me unless I did it. Now, I'm not on a trail, though, right? I'm not hiking a trail 10 miles and then jumping off like what Hunting Public does or something.
Right.
So a little different, but... And that's what I learned more. So, like, even for me, it's not just hiking trails or, like, what is hiking land. My mentality was, I got to find the elk before I hunt them.
Yes.
Like, I got to find where they are. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned this year. That first trip I took in September was, okay, I've already kind of found the region of the elk. I know they're here. I may not be on fresh elk sign every step of the day, but this is where they live.
Yeah.
And if I'm hiking through it and not hunting, then it's just a matter of steps before I find fresh elk sign. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to bump the elk before I find that sign. And so this year I learned, like, when I'm in that area where I know they like to be within that area, I'm going to start slowly hunting that timber. Instead of just waiting until I see a fresh pile of poop or fresh tracks. At that point, it's probably too late already. And so I know they're there. So hunt slower through it. Hunt it like I would whitetail. My dad taught me growing up, he taught me take 2 or 3 steps and stop and listen for about 10 seconds and scan the woods.
Yeah.
That was my approach this last week. And I got on more elk than I have any of our combined seasons together earlier this season compared to all the others. So, learning to hunt rather than hike, even in the elk woods, was huge.
Yeah. I had my couple of takeaways from the first few seasons have been, first one, find a unit or a patch where, so like we're hunting over the counter tag, so it's good for multiple units, and so we think we can hunt everywhere. Let's go everywhere. Let's try and find them. We got to find them somewhere. Instead of that approach of, okay, there's elk in every unit. Find one, or one little border that you can hunt multiple, whatever. Find one spot and learn that spot. So that's something that we kind of solidified in our mentality and our approach this year. Was we're going to learn one unit, and we're going to figure out where do the elk go in that unit.
Yeah, where do they go when they're pressured, and where's the pressure points? Like the trailhead that we'll be using later today. Kind of interesting. There's a trail that comes straight off the trailhead, and can you guess where all the hunters go? Down the trail. Immediately. They don't branch off. They don't hit the straight timber real quick, which is what one of the things I learned year 2 to do is kind of start doing that. That's actually what we ended up getting on that cow 30 minutes into the hunts, because instead of walking the trail, we're like, let's jump off and kind of parallel it a couple hundred yards off, and we got on those elk. So kind of looking over same thing I do in Louisiana. I hunt a lot of public land in Louisiana, and I look for those spots that people go right past, that are really close to the road. But I'm not afraid to go further back, but just, where are those pockets, or where do they go when they are pressured?
Yeah. Second thing that I've learned is that if you're hunting with a group of people, like we were 4 deep, and we were 5 deep, and then we were 2 deep. And here's what I'm gonna tell you. If you're hunting an over-the-counter tag in Colorado, get one person to tag.
Yeah.
Because the fact that we hunt as buddies, at least as twos, whenever we would have multiple people, we're buying all these tags in the hopes that we can fill 4 tags in a week. And like, that's just not probably going to happen. And I know that the thought is, well, if I don't have a tag, I can't kill one. And what if I have the opportunity? And there's all this, pros, cons, opportunity cost, all that comes in. But before this season, we had bought 10 tags collectively. I'm the only one who has bagged an elk. Now, granted, DJ had the bull the first year that we just didn't recover. Also, DJ shot that bull, then came walking right through a meadow where a cow elk was about to come in to about 30 yards of me and spooked her off. So I could have killed one right there.
Forgiveness
And grace, but we still remember.
I'll never forget that birthday bull.
Year 2 in 2020, DJ had a close call. Michael had a 25-yard shot, but tried to get a little bit closer and screwed himself.
In his defense, he was shooting a recurve.
He is.
But he still got too greedy.
Because logical inconsistency. He wants to shoot a real bow, but as soon as muzzleloader opens, that dude is using a rifle.
Hey, where he got on those elk though is a great example of like finding where the elk want to go in that area.
Yeah.
Because they were using a steep drainage closer to the road that was like a pinch point, and they were feeding in there and they were bedding on that ridge. But like guys hit this trail, boom, they're in that timber and they're right on that little pinch point, and nobody was using it. And he just sat up in there, got on a bull that was feeding down in it, was stalking up on it, got too greedy, got a little close, didn't recognize there was another massitive bull up the ridge about 15 feet from him. And that bull saw him and spooked the other bull that he was stalking. And that's,
So real close call that year for both of them. Then I shot a bull. Then in 21, had the birthday bull that I screwed up just from novice things. And you're not gonna kill them on every encounter. I think we proved that. But all that to encourage you.
This year alone, I earlier this season, I got on a bull at 58 yards, never got a shot. I got on a herd of cows, probably 10 or 12 cows. I only saw one of them, but I could hear them cow calling. Never got a shot. And then finally, last Friday-ish, I was coming down and got on a herd of about 50 elk and a bull that was screaming.
Yeah.
And I got a shot, but it that was a whole Saturday to Saturday hunt, and I got one opportunity to draw back.
Yeah.
And that's the one time I actually got to shoot.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't get him. I shoulder bladed him. That's a whole other story.
DJ worked on his bow a lot yesterday, and but all that to say, like, we've bought all these tags, and we would be much better off focusing all of our effort on getting one guy's tag filled, and that's our plan right now. DJ has a tag, and if he kills one, and there's enough time left, I'll go buy a tag at a field office. But instead of me having the pressure of I have a tag, now I'm thinking about myself, I'm going to dedicate everything to his hunt.
I really feel like in the past we've been more selfish because we want a tag, but I feel like what's going to happen is we're going to learn in our selflessness that we're going to become more successful in killing elk quicker.
Yep.
And as a team.
Yep.
Because it's easier to fool an elk. Like that bull at 58 yards last week. When I was in the mountains, I thought if I had Justin here with me, he could drop back and do some light bull sounds like what I did that year for you. Yep. And that would have suckered him back because he was already comfortable being there. When he went up, I could have dropped down to where he was. You could have repositioned. And like that team mentality would have been perfect there. Yeah. The same for the cows. They were looking for something, but I was stuck on a hillside in the open. I couldn't cow call because they would have saw me. So like in those scenarios, that would have been awesome to have another person rather than being solo. I think it'll lead to us being more successful in most of our encounters. At least having a greater chance with those encounters of making something happen.
So if you're watching this and you've been hunting elk all your life, and you were expecting us to drop some nugget of knowledge that would change you, we don't have that. We're not that experienced. But for the guys like us who just have a dream of going to hunt elk, and maybe you've been doing it for a couple of years and you're in the thick of learning just like us, I hope this encourages you. Like, as much as we've screwed up, we've had opportunities to kill elk and like consistently. So maybe not every day, and maybe they were hard to get, but the opportunities are there. And we both think that over-the-counter tags, the way they operate currently, isn't going to last a whole lot longer with the amount of pressure they're getting. From the time that we started hunting to now, they've cut the units for over-the-counter public land, I think, in more than half. And there's legislation being done. So go out there and do it while you can, and just have a good time. But if you're going as a team, do it as a team. Don't do it as a bunch of individuals that are just rolling together.
The number one thing I hear from guys, because I always talking to people, inviting them, like, hey, come with me. And I want to be careful because I don't just want anybody up there, and I know you are that way too, but like the number one excuse I hear is I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
And like, well, we don't either. Like we don't buy the sneaker bars or whatever. Like we cut back to different areas, or we like save specifically for this. I remember year one though, like literally I made what gear I had work, and I just had a few upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
And over these last couple of years, I began to upgrade more. And so like if I had like an ending thing that I'd say like, hey, here's like, just get out and do it. But when I say get out and do it, like don't let there be an excuse of I don't have the gear, I don't have the money. Like find somebody that's going, and do yourself a favor and just be right mentally, so you're not a burden to them.
Yep.
But go and say, look, I'll be a helper. I'll pack. I just want to learn. I want to learn what elk hunting is like. Instead of getting that tag that first year, because the chances you feeling that tag is hard. But if you go in with that mindset, I want to learn, and you become better and more productive, like in that, then you're going to learn in the long haul. You won't have to rely on a guide, and you'll develop over time. You'll be more successful. So
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Again, nothing super profound, but hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was entertaining. Maybe you got something from it. If you did, drop a comment. If you would, if you just hit the like button, it's not that hard. It doesn't hurt you at all, and it really helps the channel. So hit like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. But hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll be seeing some content where we put the smack down on a couple of elk. So that's it. See y'all later.
See ya.